Hello, 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 everybody. How's everybody today? Thank you for joining, Trailer Park Boys fans. Are y'all ready to go back to the trailer today? All right, so we have the pleasure of course, having with us Mr. Bernard Robichaud. Come on now, let's hear it, let's hear it. Thank you, thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure, thank you.
So you are the bad guy.
Not in real life.
Not in real life, no. Great to have you on the show. Let's obviously talk a little bit about Trailer Park Boys, right? This is where most people know you from, Cyrus, safety's always off. Always ready to go. Talk to us a little bit about how this how has this changed your life at all?
How has it changed my life?
Positive or negative?
I can tell people to fuck off whenever I want to, and they just really think that's great.
Right.
I don't have to duke it out in the corner with somebody, so I guess I'm sure there's lots of people that would like to tell other people to fuck off all day long and not have to worry about it, the repercussions of that.
Understandably. But it's been great I have to assume, for your career as well.
Oh, there's no question about that. Yeah, it's put us all on the map.
Yeah, exactly. And you and I were talking a little bit beforehand, before we got started, about not just about how culturally successful this was in Canada, but you guys did something that even Degrassi couldn't do, where you guys broke that border, where you guys, not just Canada and the States, like worldwide, people know the Trailer Park Boys, and that great success, having Netflix pick them up as well.
It's global. Thank you for fucking with that. Yeah, no, it's definitely global. It's interesting to look at some of the fan mail that I get, from people from Poland and places I just wouldn't, Korea.
Right.
Think, wow, what do I sound like in a Korean voice?
You gotta figure that something's lost in translation there too, some of that, right?
Yeah.
I don't really know how fuck you translate Korean.
I remember doing an interview a number of years ago with a guy from Milan, Italy, and they dubbed Cyrus in a Sicilian voice, which I thought was appropriate.
I was gonna say.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm sure he's been familiar with the Sicilian necktie. So.
Yeah, exactly. Or a Colombian one, anyway.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So playing, obviously, I think it's almost every actor's dream is to play that bad guy, to be able to lose your inhibitions. Does it make a difference to you, or do you have a preference?
I'd like to play a good guy for once. I've always gotten those bad guy roles. I'm not really sure why. Maybe I just look like a bad guy to people. I don't know why that's happened, to be honest with you.
Right.
I do find that it's a lot of fun to play the bad guy, that's for sure. And they've given me a lot of room over the years with Trailer Park Boys to kind of develop that character the way it is. So I'm grateful for that. I guess I did it well enough that they kept bringing them back anyway. So I guess that's a testament to either the character and/or the fans like it, they hate the character, which is probably more appropriate.
Yeah, and that's a testament to you though as well, and your ability actually, because you got to think, were you supposed to originally be on for as long as you were?
I don't know how that worked really. I mean, season 1 happened, season 2 happened, and we were all thinking, oh, we got another 7 episodes, that's great.
Right.
We were just happy to work. Season 3 happened, and then after it just kind of blew up. I think the show definitely needed an antagonist. I just happen to be doing it better than the other guys, I guess.
Right. So can you tell us any behind the scenes funny stories that stick out to you from on the set there?
There was always some funny things that happened on that set. I mean, it was a great team. It was fun working on it. I think probably the most memorable season 5 when I and the Flappy Bird brothers chased Bubbles on the go-kart. And that go-kart had a cable for the brakes. And when Bubbles or Mike Smith comes into the park squealing his tires and does a little fishtail in that scene, initially the cable broke when he did the fishtail. So it kind of like the kart stopped, but then it sped up again after, and he ended up going right into a lilac bush, and it shot him out of the chair of the kart. And it was a good thing he had the helmet on because he ended up in the bush with head first, which was hilarious. And then he actually jumped out of the bush and just continued on with boys. Sorry.
That's got to be in an outtake somewhere.
Yeah, no, it's probably in the outtakes.
Perfect.
Probably is, yeah.
That's amazing. So, tell us a little bit more about the cast, like when it was working with this cast, because at the time you're all pretty new to the scene. So, a bunch of relative newcomers, and to be able to take the world by storm like that, it had to be a special cast.
I think that was the genius of Mike Leidenberg, being able to see who was going to be able to fit. You know? I think the only trained actors at that time was myself, Barry Dunn, John Dunsworth. Not sure how much acting Lucy had done to Couture, but and probably Sarah, because being John's daughter, I know that she had done some acting from an early age. So it's really probably the only trained actors that were on the show initially. The rest of them were all people that Mike had auditioned and clearly were able to pull off what Mike was looking for. So hats off to them.
Yeah, and like you said, it's genius because look at how long it ran. Look at the Netflix taking it over, and you know the global acceptance of this show. Like I said, it's kind of it's a phenom, you know, especially coming out of Canada. When you look at it, it'd have to be maybe arguably the greatest show to come out of Canada, really.
Yeah.
And that's not hyperbole. It's listen, watching it.
Well, that's quite a tag to be put in that kind of.
I mean, aside from Hockey Night in Canada.
Yeah, Trailer Park Boys and Hockey Night in Canada.
Go hand in hand, right?
Yeah, it's you're right, man. It's quite a handle. It's impressive.
Nice.
There's no question. People 80 watching it.
Now, how do you feel when you see like the younger kids coming up to you, and because you have to have them coming up to you as well?
I've always been amazed that some parents let their kids watch the show. I never let my daughter watch the show initially, but everybody in her school was watching it. So I'm sure she watched it somewhere,
Right.
just because she had a laptop. But yeah, I guess it's, look if you can find those words in Urban Dictionary or Webster's Collegiate Dictionary, then I guess it's good to go. So, you know, it's just language, I guess. Maybe we shouldn't put so much emphasis on what a word is as opposed to how it's being used.
Good point, good point. Ready for a couple questions from the audience?
No.
No, me neither. You guys don't have anything, do you? You have a question, John Constantine up front? What do you got, buddy? So the question is there any chance Cyrus could be the new trailer park supervisor after the tragic passing of John?
You know, I guess there's always a chance. I haven't been approached on it. I wouldn't be able to speculate on that. And even if I had that information, sure as shit wouldn't be giving it to you, man.
So take that as you will. What's up, buddy? Did you ever get to work with J-Rock, Jonathan Torrance?
I worked with Jonathan, 80s, in Street Sense.
Right.
That's when I first met Jonathan. He was just a kid then.
Yeah, that guy.
Not that I wasn't either, but you know, yeah.
He was a hard worker too.
30 years ago, probably. Yeah, I was late 20s then when I first met Jonathan.
Anybody else? What's up, buddy?
Yeah, we've hung out a few times. Mike had a Bubbles Mansion in Halifax. I know we partied there a few times. I don't remember much of them, but I know I was there. Yeah.
Follow up.
No, not sure what that stuff is. You know, there's all kinds of stuff out there that they use to burn. It's a smokable substance. It's just not marijuana. It's what? I'm sorry?
Oh, because of not that it's real weed, but it's whatever the smokable is.
Yeah. Well, that's possible. I don't smoke, so.
And they do the same with cigarettes, though, too. They don't use real tobacco either.
Yeah. It's not real hash driveway either.
Awesome. Anyone else? There we go. Favorite episode? That's a tough one. You probably get that a lot.
And I think they're all kind of special in one way or another. I think season 5 is probably was the most fun. But favorite episodes? You know, generally I just don't look at anything I do as a favorite kind of thing. Look, I love to do what I do. I don't know that I would put anything that I've ever done as a favorite. They've all been special to me in one way or another, and to be able to be working in the industry for, I don't know, it's been 36 years. I started when I was 22. So, yeah, I'm 58 years old now, so to be able to last as long as I have, I'm grateful for that, man.
Acting tips to get into acting in Canada. Move to the 6.
No, you're never too young, I don't think, or too old to get into the business. I think the problem is just being diligent enough to make that choice. You know, it's not easy because everybody. I think there's a lot of people that want to get into it because you know, whatever the reason is. Read a lot of plays. Try to find yourself in amongst those as one of those characters. Find a local theater or community theater to become part of. Learn the business that way. And find yourself 5 or 6 different audition pieces so that you can and memorize them so that you can, you know, if you go to an audition, you've got something in your back pocket to use. I don't know any other way to kind of do it. It's kind of how I started it. I didn't even know I wanted to be an actor. I modeled before I started acting, and I was a competitive athlete, so I can tell you that acting was the furthest thing from my mind.
What were you, an competitive athlete then?
Hockey and basketball. Yeah.
There's not many people that, and I find it weird in Canada, that so many people that love hockey are against basketball, because as someone who played both as well, the fast breaks are the same, you know, the defensive plays are all the same. The only difference is, you know, one's on ice and you've got a goalie and body checks. I mean, if it was the 80s, we still had the body checking in the NBA.
I played a lot of basket brawl in my neighborhood, so I'm not sure it was much different than hockey.
Right.
Yeah, I found myself with my shorts down around my ankles a few times after a jump shot. elbows in the wrong spots, you know, things like that. But if you could continue to do that, didn't cry, you got to play probably some of the best basketball in the area. You know?
Right. That's that Charles Oakley style.
That's kind of what it was, man. You know, you had to put up with some of that stuff before you could get accepted and play on the court.
Right. Now, we're talking about acting and stuff. The one thing I would like to ask, there's a lot of actors that they're either one way or the other. They either watch their work or they avoid their work. Where do you fall? Do you like go back and watch your shows ever?
I don't watch anything I'm in. I've never watched Trailer Park Boys.
Really?
I was living in Toronto and I did a series long time ago called Nike.
Right.
And I invited all my friends over for my first show. And then after that episode, I swore I'd never invite any of my friends over for that show or anything else that I did after.
You got ripped?
No, it wasn't that. I think as an artist or an athlete, you tend to be a bit of a perfectionist in what you're doing.
Right.
And because you're always looking for the edge. How do you get better? And so watching yourself, you become your own worst critic. I think it's difficult to kind of look at your work and then second guess everything the choices that you made when you did them in front of the camera.
Right.
It's even worse through the audition process, because most times you don't really know who these people are sitting in front of you. So to look at myself or look on the audition tape and try to figure out why they didn't hire me, or gee, I could have done that differently. Look, when they hired me for a reason,
yeah,
I'm good with that.
Exactly.
When they say moving on to the next scene, I guess I gave them what they were looking for. Otherwise, I'd still be sitting in front of the camera. So, I don't need to say. I think if you start going down that road, you're probably in the wrong business.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Halifax, in a place called Spryfield. So, kind of a tar paper shack neighborhood. Yeah.
What was it like working with John?
John Dunsworth? John was my acting coach at Dalhousie University, so I knew John for a long time before we were working together on Trailer Park Boys. John owned Filmworks in Halifax, which was the local casting agent, so John and I saw each other a lot, when I'd go in for auditions. So John was a lovable and very giving and gifted man. So working alongside him, there was always a learning experience. And as long as you were listening, it was easy to perform.
Awesome. Anyone else? Nice. All right. So, what do we got going on now? Some upcoming projects, or?
Got a movie coming up in the spring called To Revenge. It's going to be shot in the U.S. I live in California now, so.
What's that like? What's the difference you notice between, say, being here in Canada or anywhere else in the world aside from New York and Hollywood?
I feel like they're not as up in your face, I guess.
Right.
I think it's generally more accepted that you're just another entity out there.
Right.
So I don't get the people coming up to me as often down there as I do here. Not that that's a bad thing.
No,
but it's just interesting to feel like you have some anonymity.
It's probably nice to have a dinner without being interrupted every 5 minutes for a selfie.
It's kind of nice, man. Yeah.
Safety's off.
Yeah. Because I've been to restaurants before where it's tough to get the order in because they want to talk about Trailer Park Boys.
Right.
I just came for a beer. That's all I want. Can I get my fries? Yeah.
Awesome. All right, anything else, guys? No, awesome. I think we've pretty much done our time here. Thank you so much for being on the panel and being here to say hi to all your trailer park fans.
Yeah.
All right, everybody,
Pleasure.
big round of applause. All right.